Hey, it's Jordan. When the world feels stale, it feels like Groundhog's Day, and you're just repeating the same thing over and over again. I have a practical solution that I use when I find myself falling into this trap. The practical solution is to change your perspective. I look at things as if I've never seen them before, as if this is the first time I'm seeing what I'm looking at. Like, this is the first time I'm seeing this tree, or this is the first time I'm seeing the sunset, or even this is the first time I'm seeing myself when I look in the mirror. Whatever the situation is, especially with people, this is the first time I'm seeing this person that maybe I've known for years, but instead of attaching all this baggage and projecting all these things onto them, I can look at them with fresh eyes like I've never seen them before. And when I do that, they look at me the same way. It is just the law of attraction, the law of perception, as within, so without. So when I look at people with fresh eyes, not only do I kill that staleness in me, but I can look at them with wonder and curiosity and mystery, and it makes the interaction so much more interesting. Not only for me, but for both parties involved, or anybody involved. You maybe have heard the quote, "No man steps into the same river, for it is not the same river, and he is not the same man." Every moment is truly unique. It will never be repeated. Who you are is going to be different tomorrow than you are today. And the river, or life, as you could say, is never going to be the same way it is now. It is constantly evolving and growing and changing and dying. And it's never the same. And this is where suffering comes in. When we get attached to how we think things should be, we get attached to how things once were. That attachment is what leads to suffering. So when we can look at things with freshness, there's a sheen, there's a beauty that we don't see when we look at things as if we've seen them 1,000 times before. And it really doesn't matter what you're doing. I've worked jobs that required like 11-hour shifts in the same place at the same time, 6 days a week, and I treated it like this is my Zen temple. And you can treat any situation like it's your Zen temple, and you're going to use whatever you're going through to grow and witness how, even if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it doesn't matter. There's still growth, and there's still a uniqueness. And the reason I used the Zen temple is Zen monasteries are notoriously boring. They wake up at like 4 a.m, they eat the same thing, they meditate for hours and hours every day, the same time, and then they barely sleep, and then they wake up and do it again. And there's a reason to the madness. That reason is that boredom eventually cracks through your mind, and you start to see things with this freshness that I'm talking about. There's a reason so many spiritual teachers and books are centered around be here now. Be in this present moment right now. And the reason they talk about it is because it is completely unique and will never be repeated. It is its own thing. And we attach all these meanings and projections and all these stuff onto our lives where we can miss the present moment. We can even miss what's going on right in front of us. We can get so caught up in our minds. I know I've been there before I learned about meditation and all these practices that bring you right back to your center. And the reason I'm making this video is it's something that I need to remind myself. I need to constantly, more than I'd like to admit even, I have to constantly remind myself, look at this as if you've never seen it before. And what do you notice? What beauty can you see in this first precious moment that you've seen? Another practice that I like to emphasize this freshness. Imagine that you are just your eyes. Like, let go of your whole body, let go of your mind, let go of everything attached to your eyes, and just practice the awareness that you are just your eyes, just floating in space, looking at this reality. And when you do that, you drop all these conditionings and all these programs and all these shadows and all this stuff that we carry with us subconsciously that we don't even realize. And when we can do that, even if it's just for a moment, even if it's just for a half of a moment, if we can see with that clarity and just let that wonder surround you. This place is a miracle. We forget how miraculous this is. Right now you're watching this video on a phone or a computer somewhere in a whole nother part of the world, and yet we're still connected in this bizarre, crazy way. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense that I can talk into a screen and then it gets projected out into the world on all these thousands of different people. And yet here we are. Just the idea that we can find water and clean it and drink it, and we can have food and prepare it and it tastes delicious and it nourishes our bodies, and we can walk around, or maybe we can't even walk, but we are mobile somehow. We can move around this reality. And when it gets taken away from you, you get so grateful when it's returned, if it's returned. I used to take walking for granted, and I will never do that again, having not been able to walk for months. And so we can do this with our vision, with our sight. When we see things with fresh eyes, and we don't need to compare it either with anybody else. What anybody else sees is their vision. I love the idea of, if you put 12 enlightened beings around an object and ask them to describe it, you're going to get 12 different answers. They can be perfectly enlightened, awake beings, and what they're seeing from their perspective is going to be different simply based on where they are in relation to the object. So the same thing applies to life. All these videos, I'm just sharing my perspective. I'm more of an artist and a poet than a scientist. I'm simply sharing what I see, and if you agree with me, that's awesome. And if you disagree with me, that's awesome. It shouldn't affect me. I know I'm learning this more and more as I put more videos out, but I should just share my perspective because that's all I have. All I have is what I can see, what I've experienced, and offer that to the world. That's what being an artist or a poet is. I used to work more with paints and markers and pencil. Used to be more of a visual artist, but now I felt the call to move into the wordsmith artistic expression and just share through words, through language, offer what I'm seeing. And it seems to be resonating with people. If you're here still watching this, I appreciate you and I love you. Look at the world with fresh eyes every day, every moment, and you won't be disappointed.